Well, hi guys, it's Tommy Ellison here, and it's Senior Moments time. It's 5 o'clock, and we're live at 5. It's Sunday, May the 10th, and today is Mother's Day, and I think I have a kind of a special, a little program for you here today involving Mother's Day. But let me get started with this right quick. I'll be right back. Welcome to Senior Moments. I'm Tommy Ellison. You know, I forget names, car keys, and what I came in the room for, but somehow I remember the 60s with crystal clear clarity. What you are about to hear is evidence of a misspent youth, and believe me, I've got some stories. Let's go. Well, here we are. I've got a couple of things to share with you. First of all, this is episode number 55 of Senior Moments, and I don't know, I can't really believe that. It's a little over a year that I've been doing this. And so just a reminder, you know, I'm doing these not so much for you, but more for me to capture these memories, and perhaps one of my grandchildren will watch it on their iPad or whatever. That technology lends itself to view it. And then again, maybe they won't find them at all. Who knows? But I hope you're enjoying, those of you who are subscribed and watching. And for those of you who would like to know more about the program, just leave a comment if you would, because this is that day. And it's Mother's Day. And this is kind of like, well, what do you do on Mother's Day? And if your mom is alive, then you take her neat stuff and flowers and what have you, card, I guess would be the minimum amount, but mine is no longer with me. And so this is kind of a, I guess what you would say, a memorial in a sense to my mom. Her name was Anna Estock Ellison as she married. And anyway, she was an unusual woman, to say the least. And those of you who knew her, or well, yeah, you knew her, past tense, you would probably agree with me. And I'm fully expecting my sister to come on today and tell me everything that I'm telling you is wrong, but you know, that's okay too. But what kind of as I got into telling or writing I guess you would say a script, because this is not scripted today, as you probably can tell. I was given this thing here. I'll show you. My youngest daughter brought me this. This is a big Ziploc bag full of old football programs from my football days, both in high school and in college. There was one high school program in here that you can see, Fairfield versus Jones Valley, on September the 29th, 1967. So I would have been probably a junior that year. But there's a whole bunch of Samford University football programs in here. And I pulled out a couple of them I was going to show you, because, you know, not that they have any special interest, but this was one of the ones that kind of jumped out at me was this one here. This is Amos Alonzo's Stag Bowl College Division II National Championship. We played Ohio Wesleyan down in Phoenix City, Alabama. This kind of has an interesting story. I don't know if I want to go into it, but we had a opportunity to play in the Stag Bowl, and we all thought prior to winning our last game it was going to be in Chicago, and we were going to get to fly there. We'd never flown. We always just took a Greyhound bus to wherever we were going. But as it turns out, we won that last game. We got the invitation to go to the Stag Bowl. And believe it or not, our coach comes running in and says, "Guys, we're going to the Stag Bowl." And we're all excited. And he said, "There's been one change. It's going to be in Phoenix City, Alabama this year." So it was another bus ride. But this was the program. And you can see where my mom actually wrote the score: Samford 20, Ohio Wesleyan 10. And that was a kind of an interesting day. This program was from Delta State, actually over there. It was their home game, and I'll notice there's a sticker on here because they were passing these out at the game. We were ranked number 7 in this particular game, and I don't know who did this. I don't think my mom would have done it, but you can probably see where they wrote Sanford 30, Delta 24. It might have been one of the guys or one of the gals that was riding with my mom to that game. She was famous for doing that. You know, she would actually load up the car with her nieces and mostly nieces. I don't think any of the nephews went, and she would take them to these away games in order for her to not go over there alone. So my sister and her cousins, my mom's nieces, were always traveling there in the big golden Seville that my mom drive that my dad got her. This was Samford University at Mobile College, kind of a Spartan program. It's not very big compared to some of the ones that were published. This is Henderson State versus Samford University Bulldogs, and as you can see, this was October 14th, 1972, and we were apparently won 27-21. I don't even remember where Henderson State was. I want to say it was in Arkansas, Haygood Stadium in Arkansas, but I don't know. And here's one of the Samford programs. Samford did a very nice program. It was, 40, 50 pages, a lot of ads, of course, paid the bills. But this was Samford University versus Newberry College, 21-0 on November the 13th, 1971, as you can see there. And another interesting one is, this was an away game. This was Jacksonville State University, and we beat Jacksonville State that year. I think it was the only year we beat them, 31-21. And interestingly enough, Jacksonville State, there was a guy named Ralph Brock, who later became known as Dieter Brock, played in the Canadian professional football. He was from Jones Valley High School, along with some of his former teammates at Jones Valley, Hassel Walls and Jimmy Martin, I think. I don't know, Jimmy might have played at Alabama. But the thing that I thought was kind of neat about these, like this particular one at Newberry, and you got to say, well, what's this got to do with your mom, Tommy? Well, this one at Newberry, you'll notice that she wrote there, "Go Dogs," on the bottom, and I certainly recognize her handwriting. I've seen her handwriting a lot back then, mostly on report cards that she had to sign based on grades that I was doing. But she was quite a lady, and I put together a little group of snapshots that I hope you'll enjoy, called Remembering Mom. And my mom, she was born and raised in Fairfield, Alabama. Didn't wander off very far. She spent her whole life there, her whole career there in the little town of Fairfield. That's the old town square there with the marching band. I'm not sure what year that picture was made. And that little bitty picture in the inset there, this one here was actually picture that was shot back when the city was called Corey as opposed to Fairfield. And there's a whole nother story about that. I'm not going to go there. But anyway, it's Fairfield. And this was the house she lived in on 49th Street, 205 49th Street in Fairfield, which, if any of you remember Fairfield, it was right across the street from the old fire hall and police station. And I want to say that's Commerce Avenue, but I wouldn't bet my life on it. So this was a house that she grew up in. And interestingly enough, this was a 3-bedroom, 1-bathroom house, and there were 10 children plus Pop and Grandma that lived in that house, and she raised them all. My granddaddy started the fire department in Fairfield, and they had a fire station across the street, and many of the older brothers slept over at the fire station in lieu of sleeping in the house, which I can only imagine what kind of night's sleep you'll get with 7 or 8 of your brothers and sisters there in the house with you. I'm not even sure how they survived that, but they did there in Fairfield. These are a couple of pictures. This one on the left here is her graduation picture. It's June the 12th, 1942 was the date on that picture. And the picture in the middle was yours truly, the day I was born on September 21st, 1951, along with my dad standing there over her, watching and I guess gleaming. And so that was sometime shortly after I was born. Let's just leave it at that. The one on the left is actually my youngest daughter, who apparently they were dressed up for church or something, maybe Easter Sunday, but another shot of them. And then the picture of in the upper left-hand corner here is a shot of my mom along with her 3 sisters. In the Estock family, there were 6 brothers and 4 sisters, one being my mom. And on the left there, let's see if I can blow up this thing a little bit. On the left there was Mary Agnes, who later moved to Houston. And sitting to her left, our right in the photo, is Patsy Sue. Then my mom holding the red Solo cup. Sounds like a song, doesn't it? And to her left, our right, was my Aunt Mildred, who Mildred Johnson was her married name. You'll also notice on the picture immediately to the right, my mom sitting with one of her cousins and her brother Billy in the back row, and my Aunt Mary Agnes, her older sister, sitting on my mom's far right in the image. And if you drop down one, you'll see my mom with, again, my youngest daughter. My youngest daughter was, she was actually my mom's favorite, I think, because when my oldest was born, my wife's mother-in-law, or my mother-in-law, I guess you would say, was one of the ones that she kind of took Anna under her wing and did a lot of things with her. Of course, the first 2.5 years, Mary wasn't there, so they got very close and very attached. So when my mom, when Mary was born, the second one was born, my mom immediately just kind of claimed her as being her go-to grandchild and took her to a lot of places, and they had a ball. So they were always very close, as you can tell in that picture. And this photo here is kind of interesting to me because this photo was shot at Olin Mills' studio, and I remember she gave me that picture framed for Christmas one year. She was always very proud, I guess, of that photograph. Anyway, I got a couple of comments coming up here. We'll get to you here in just a second. Let me finish these photographs. This is another shot of the Estock family. Not all of them are in this picture. There are some spouses as well that are in the picture that you'll probably recognize maybe. This is see if I can get this thing to blow up a little bit. Yeah, science is wonderful, isn't it? Come on, man. You can do it. You can do it. I can't remember if the mouse goes to me or away from me. I don't know. Anyway, this photograph is the living room of, now it does it. Well, okay, we'll back out. This is a lot of the brothers and the sisters, and at the time that this picture was made, there was actually 4 of the grandchildren. You had my cousin Chuck here. He was the oldest grandchild of my grandmother and grandfather. And then Erin, you can't really see Erin very well because she has her back to the camera. But that's her mother, Mary Agnes, holding her. And right off the frame there is my cousin Lee, who Lee was the son of Mildred and Olin Johnson, and he didn't quite make it in the picture. And then up where my Aunt Patsy Sue is standing is yours truly. So I'll date this picture based on my age there, somewhere probably around either late 51, probably more like early 52 if the truth were known. So that was an interesting picture. All of the brothers and sisters and some of the wives were there in that photograph, and so that was a kind of a confabulation of my aunts and uncles. I can remember on Christmas, before there were a lot of cousins, the Estocks were Catholic, very fertile family. There was, I don't even remember how many grandchildren there were, but let me jump here right quick because we got a comment coming up. I don't know if I can get to it from this screen, but hang on, Amy. We're going to be with you here in just a second. But there were lots of brothers and sisters, and I don't even remember where I was going with that comment now. So anyway, I'm distracted myself. This is my mom when she was working at the credit union in Fairfield. She spent over 30 years there working for Mr. Harwood and Mr. Guyton, who were the two, I guess, founders of the credit union there next to the bank, between the bank and the library, if you remember Fairfield. And, some of her employees there in that shot. My mom actually worked for the company that I worked for at the time, Covington Flooring Company. She was kind of a bookkeeper for them and helped them out part-time. And I think they missed her when she left because she was a very precise woman. She was the only person I've ever known that actually balanced their checkbook to the penny. That was something that she was, I don't know if that was just the frugal nature of growing up or just the fact that she worked at a credit union and handled other people's money, but she could balance that checkbook, and she tried to get me to do it. I remember she got me a checkbook when I went off to college, and she put a little money in it. And, this is a difference between now and then. This is when I went off to college. It was like 1969. I had a checking account there at the First National Bank in Fairfield. And there was a lady there named Alicia Bowers who worked for the bank president, who I think was Fred Dunlap. I stand to be corrected. But Alicia would call up my mom next door and say, Louise, Tommy is about to bounce a check, just came through. Do you want to come over here and cover it for him? And she would walk over during her lunch hour and put some money in the bank and cover the check that I had written while I was at college, because I wasn't very good at balancing checkbooks. And so, but that's the difference now. The computers all do it, and it would have been bounced, and the overdraft fees and all that would have kicked in. And But that was back when customer service was really, really customer service. This is another shot of the brothers and sisters. On the far right is Bobby Estock. He was the doctor in the family. And moving to the left, you had Mary Agnes, my aunt, and then my Aunt Patsy Sue. My mom standing there, and then the third person is my Uncle Billy. And looks like it might have been a wedding or something that they were attending. Not sure the origin of that photograph, but it was a pretty nice picture. This was my mom's senior picture from high school. And, I think by and large, it's hard for me to say this because, she's my mother, but she looked like she could have really been a hottie when she was in high school. So anyway, that's her. And of course, as she began to age, she had beautiful silver hair, and her skin was, I don't know that I've ever seen a woman, or a man for that matter, that had as smooth a skin as she did. And girls, I'll give you a little tip. She told me how she did that. She washed her face every night with lava soap. Now, before you go crazy on me, lava soap is a great for washing your hands with grease and stuff that's really tough to get off, but it's got a little grit on it, and she would use the very light application of the lava soap, which in essence what she was doing was essentially sandblasting her face on a very mild sort of way. But the byproduct or the end result of it was she had a very, very smooth skin that she maintained through her life there on Earth, and it was pretty amazing. She was a fair woman. She was very strict, but she was fair, and I think that came from her DNA. She was a daughter of a Marine that had been in China during the Boxer Rebellion as well as World War One, and she was faithful to her church, and went to Mass after she retired every day, much like her mother did the same way. She was an Anna Louise. And this is one of my favorite pictures in my photo album and scanned in my computer. It's what I call the three Annas. This is my mom there standing in the middle of the other two girls, and my sister to our left, Anna Carroll, who should be watching now. I'm not sure where she is today. And then to our right is Anna Marie, who is my oldest daughter. So lots of Annas in my family, but those were the three Annas, not to be confused, I guess, with the three tenors, which I'm not even sure why I brought that up, to be honest with you. So anyway, she was quite the looker, and she had a daughter and a granddaughter, all named after her. So she was born on July 26, 1924, and she passed away on October 28th, 2014, at the age of 90. So that's just the photo album that I put together that I hope you guys enjoyed looking at. If you know my mom, you'll appreciate a lot of those pictures. I mentioned she being faithful to the church. When I was a junior in high school, I actually went to a Baptist church actually it was supposed to be a cheap date. This guy had invited me to come to their group, youth group, to watch a musical that they had just put on, and it was called Good News. And so that night I'm sitting on the back row with a friendly, and so the music and the message got to me, and I made a profession of faith that night. It was July 28th, 1968. And I was very excited about what I had done and all of the ramifications and, the emotional and spiritual uh, effects that it was having on me. And I went home and, again, my mom, being a very devout Catholic, didn't really have a firm grasp of Baptist or Methodist. She was raised in the Catholic Church. She went to parochial school, as did I, up to the time of the eighth grade. But I came home and I said, Mom, guess what? I got saved tonight. And she said, You did what? What'd you say? And I said, I got saved. I went down to the front of the church and I prayed for Jesus to come into my heart. And she walked over to where I was standing and she put her hand on my head and started doing this. And it took me a couple of years to realize what that was. She wasn't anointing me at all. She was feeling my hair to see if it was wet, because I assume she just figured I not only got into this religious experience at church, but I guess I got baptized too. And of course, it bothered her a lot that that I had done that because, in her, I guess, opinion and observation, she felt like I was leaving the Catholic Church, which ultimately I did and have become a Baptist for a number of reasons. But with all that said, she was very troubled by it. And I have to give credit to a gentleman who was our parish priest for a time. He later became a Monsignor, and I even want to say he became a bishop at St. Peter's there in Birmingham. His name was Peter Sheehan, Father Peter Sheehan, and like many priests, he was Irish. And my mom went to him to essentially discuss with him what was going on in my life. And he did me a favor, unknowingly, I guess, but in her grief about my potentially leaving the church, he told her, he said, Louise, you need to be thankful. And she told me later, she looked at him like he was crazy. And but he continued, he said, there's a lot of guys and girls today, young kids, that are running away from God. This is like 1968, 69. And, there was a lot of stuff going on with, drugs and just the music scene, the whole, Woodstock, the whole, those of you who remember. But he says, kids are running away from God, and your son is running towards God. And that's something that you should be thankful for. And I was thankful that he gave her that advice. I think it gave her peace of mind and peace of heart, knowing that it's not the end of the world, that we're all seeking the same thing, and that's a relationship with our Savior, Jesus Christ. So my mom was a very special person. Let me look at a couple of comments here because I don't want to get away without these friendly folks. This is Amy Johnson Slate. This is Lee's daughter, I think it is, if my chronologies are right. And she said, I see my grandma Mildred in the red. Yeah, that was exactly her. She continues, I had to be her favorite granddaughter since I was her one and only. Thanks for sharing, Tommy. Happy Mother's Day to all the mamas in your life. Thank you very much, Amy, for that comment, and thanks for watching. She comments later, she said, Lee was my dad. Lee was the one that had his head exposed with the rest of his body cut off in that group photograph a moment ago. And Amy's here saying she was beautiful. Grandma always said, I'm assuming you were talking about my mom, because she was, but Grandma always said she washed her face with lava soap. There you go. That's exactly what I mentioned earlier. That was what she claimed to be her secret. And I'd forgotten about this. She moisturized it with lard, which probably always also made her very popular with the dogs, too, if you think about it. Did I just say that out loud? I'm so sorry. Let's see. Amy continues and said, I made the comment about the skincare before you. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, we great minds work in the same vein, huh? Well, let's go here. You're welcome. Thank you again. My daughter Nora enjoyed listening. And anyway, Amy, I really appreciate you watching. I don't know how many are out there watching live, but this is being recorded on both Facebook and YouTube. If you have others that might, you think, enjoy this podcast. And again, thank you for being a part of the show with us and your recollections of that Estock family. It actually was a wonderful family to grow up in. And I know what it was. I was showing you the group picture. When there were only like 4 or 5 cousins, Christmas was wonderful because every aunt and uncle would give us gifts for Christmas. And so there were only like 4 or 5 of us at the time. And so finally, as the family became more, what would you say, fruitful, and the numbers started to increase, then they decided rather than spend the money on everybody's kids other than your own, they would draw names. And so they would, put all the cousins' names in a hat, and everybody would draw one. And so you would typically get your Christmas gift from the Estock family from one person instead of 9, theoretically, that would give you a Christmas gift. It was a sad day for Christmas when that name drawing thing started. But I remember this, that my Uncle Bobby was pretty cool. He was I think a med student at the time, or maybe he was just starting his practice up. He was a pediatrician in his early practice, and then eventually he went back to school and became a child psychiatrist along with his pediatric care practices early on. He was, I think, in the Air Force. He did some time in the Air Force to help pay for his college bills when he went to med school. But Uncle Bob would always give the coolest prizes, or presents rather, on Christmas Day. I can remember, big giant squirt guns that he would give us. And one year he gave me this rocket that you plug the hose pipe into, and the pressure from the hose pipe would pop that rocket up into the air. It was like I was an astronaut or something in my dreams. And then, of course, when Uncle Bob didn't get my name, I typically got sweaters and socks. Those silent gifts that you shake on Christmas morning, and not to open that one first because it's going to be a pair of socks or a sweater or a new shirt or something somewhat unexcited as kids look at them when you're that age. So anyway, I'm going to get out of here. I do appreciate you. This is, as I said, episode 55, and be back next week talking about my first 3 jobs that I ever had as a Fairfield employee there growing up in this wonderful little town that we grew up in. So I hope you enjoyed the podcast. If you did enjoy it, please leave a comment if you would. or a thumbs up. And one other thing, if you have opportunity to share it with other folks, if you watch it on YouTube or Facebook, be sure and share it so others might enjoy it as well. And I would appreciate that. So we're going to close on a Sunday night. Senior Moments, Evidence of a Misspent Youth. Oh, and be sure and watch this guy. He's got some great advice, which I just told you, but he's going to repeat it. So sorry for the redundancy. But you guys have a great evening, and we will see you next week on Senior Moments. Good night, and God bless. Well, hey, thanks for spending a few minutes with me on Senior Moments. If you enjoyed the ride, be sure and tap that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell so you don't miss the next one. I'll be back soon with more stories from a misspent youth, and maybe some of yours too.